In Colombia, the government ordered on Wednesday the expulsion of diplomats from the embassy of Argentina in Bogota. Health organizations in the Gaza Strip denounced that 13 newborn children have died of acute malnutrition as a result of the blockade imposed by Israel on humanitarian aid. In Senegal, Bassirou Diomaye Faye was declared winner of the first round of the presidential elections held on Sunday. Hello and welcome to From the South. I am Irma Shelton, and from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba, we begin with the news. In Colombia, the government ordered on Wednesday the expulsion of diplomats from the embassy of Argentina in Bogota after the recent declarations of the Argentine President Javier Milei. The Colombian leadership expressed its condemnation of the new offensive statements made by Milei against the Colombian President Gustavo Petro, stating that they violate the relations between both nations. In this sense, informed through statements that the expulsion of officials will be communicated to the embassy of the country through the institutional channels, according to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. In this context, the government of Colombia expressed its rejection through a press release with the words, "The Foreign Affairs Ministry, on behalf of the government of Colombia, repudiates its statement made by Mr. Javier Milei, President of Argentina, in an interview to CNN channel, in which he expresses himself in denigrating manner against the first president of Colombia, the respected Mr. Gustavo Petro." The press release also states that President Javier Milei insulted the Colombian president, affecting the ties sustained between both countries. Later on, it settled that the expressions of the Argentine president have damaged the confidence of the Colombian nation, besides offending the dignity of President Petro, who was democratically elected. The document ends by ordering the expulsion of diplomats from the Argentine embassy in Colombia. In this way, through its official account on the social network X, the Puebla Group expressed its rejection of the statement made by Argentine President Javier Milei against Colombian President Gustavo Petro. In the meantime, the Puebla Group expressed that the statements of the President Milei against President Petro are an affront to the region and warned that the harvest of the Argentinian president in his first 100 days of government is a diplomatic crisis. On the other hand, the regional bloc reiterates that the Colombia and Argentina have a long tradition of excellent bilateral relations, and opinions like those of Javier Milei only destroyed what has been built. In Ecuador, authorities reported that they regained control of the regional prison of Guayaquil after a riot broke out for several hours. In his message published in social networks, the Ecuadorian President Daniel Noboa confirmed this Thursday that the situation was controlled after the riot of the Social Rehabilitation Center 4. However, he did not offer details of the causes of the events. During the night of Wednesday, there were disturbances and detonations were heard from inside the prison, as well as fires caused by the inmates with the burnings of mattresses. The inmates were apparently protesting against the mistreatment by the military during the presence of the army forces inside the prison. In Ecuador, police and military repressed a peaceful sit-in denouncing state violence against indigenous communities opposing mega mining. Farmer and indigenous organizations were repressed with tear gas outside the Ministry of Environment located in Quito, the capital of the country. The anti-mining front denounced that they were attacked with they were peacefully protesting against the mining occupation in the territories of Sigos, Las Pampas, and Palo Quemado. The demonstrators opposed the environmental consultation promoted by the government of Daniel Noboa by means of manual that is considered unconstitutional and seeks to favor the large multinationals. The government of Bolivia announced the creation of a new credit line for agricultural producers who supply raw material for the recently inaugurated biodiesel plant. The Ministry of Economy announced that the new credit will benefit producers of soybean, oil palm, and other vegetables, which works as a biofuel for the biodiesel plant inaugurated on Tuesday. The portfolio detailed that the Bolivia credits has an interest rate of 0.5% per year to encourage producers to cultivate the oil-producing crops. The authorities announced that more than 12,000 loans have been disbursed under this initiative, which have mainly benefited micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. In Haiti on Thursday, the General Directorate of the National Police ordered the intensified actions against criminal groups that today control 80% of the capital of that Caribbean country. In this way, the Commander-in-Chief of the police, Fran Albé, gave instructions to the heads of the specialized units of the army forces to redouble efforts to eliminate these criminal organizations. In a note published on its Facebook page, the police report that 17 alleged criminals were recently killed, among them gang leaders Ernst Julme, Macaganda, while 17 firearms were seized during operations and interventions carried out between February 98 and March 26 of 2024. In the United States, a federal appeals court extended a blockade on the anti-immigrant law imposed in the state of Texas that would allow authorities to arrest and deport undocumented migrants. According to reports, 3 judges of the court voted on the future of this measure, with 2 of them supporting the idea of continuing to stop the law from going into effect. According to the court's Chief Judge Priscilla Richmond, the implementation of the SB 4 law could represent a violation of the U.S. Constitution. Texas Governor Greg Abbott said he will persist in implementing measures to secure the southern border, adding that Texas has the legal authority to arrest people crossing the border while on their borders. Now let's take a short break, but remember, you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news, updates, and more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the House. The Russian Commission of the investigation identified the bodies of 84 people, including 5 minors, after the deadly bombing at the concert hall on the outskirts of Moscow last Friday. The Commission received 143 complaints from relatives and friends of the victims who disappeared as a result of the tragedy. The agency continues to conduct molecular genetic analysis to identify the remaining victims of the terrorist attack that claimed the life of 114 people and left over 100 wounded. So far, 11 people have been arrested in connection with the terrorist attack. In Russia, presidential spokesman Dmitry Peskov suggested to Telegram to co-founder and chief executive Pavel Durov greater caution to prevent this social network from ending up as a tool in the hands of terrorists. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov, in an interview, asked Telegram co-founder and executive Pavel Durov to pay more attention to the negative use of the social network. Peskov pointed out that Telegram is a unique information resource from the technological point of view, and therefore it may be in danger of becoming a tool for the use of terrorists. This alert comes a week after the attack on the Krakow City Hall shopping mall, which left more than 130 people dead and a total of 180 wounded. In Palestine, a baby died on Thursday due to hunger and lack of treatment, bringing the number of malnourished newborns in the Gaza Strip to 30. Medical officials said that the newborns died as a result of dehydration and lack of medical supplies at the Kamal Awan Hospital in the northern Gaza Strip. Doctors at the hospital indicate that they see many premature babies every day whose weight does not match their age, in clear evidence of starvation. They warn that as a result, the babies reach critical rates, severe acidemia disorders, and ultimately death. In Ireland, Defense and Foreign Affairs Minister Michel Martin announced that Dublin will intervene in the genocide case brought by South Africa against Israel before the International Court of Justice. Martin states that he will inform the Council of Ministers about a declaration intervention. The Foreign Affairs Minister also assures an official intersection in the judicial process and the proposal gets approved. Likewise, emphasized that the situation in Gaza represents a human catastrophe and is causing the death and thousands of innocent people. Last December, South Africa denounced Israel before the International Court of Justice for genocidal conduct against the Palestinian people within the frame of the offensive launched on October 7. After 173 days of genocidal attacks on Gaza, the Israeli army continues its military aggression and the Palestinian death toll keeps mounting. According to the latest updates, the Israeli army is concentrating its attacks mainly in Rafah. However, reports say other places in Gaza are being targeted, including the Jabalia refugee camp and the Al-Shifa hospital, where the Israeli forces claim to have killed a number of Hamas fighters. After 173 days of genocidal attacks, over 32,400 Palestinians have been killed since October 7, 2023. In the United States, a poll reveals increased public reflection of Israeli aggressions against the Gaza Strip. Results released through the website of Gallup, the regional market research, and public opinion polling firms show that 55% of the United States population disapprove of Tel Aviv's military actions in Palestine. All three major party groups in the country report rising disapproval ratings, while independent outlets are completely opposed. The Democratic trends currently register 75% opposition, and Republican support decreased by 7 percentage points, placing rejections of Israel actions at 64%. And we have a final short break coming up, but before, we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience. You can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean, as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected with TeleSUR. Short break, don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. In Senegal, Bassirou Diomaye Faye was declared winner of the first round of the presidential elections held on Sunday. In this sense, the Court of Appeal of Senegal published on Wednesday the official results of the elections, confirming that Faye obtaining 54.28% of the votes, so that a second round will not be contested because they exceed the total of 50% of the votes. The second place was for the leader of the ruling party, Amadou Ba, with 35.79%. Faye, 44 years old, is a member of the Senegalese Patriots Party, which stands for Pan-Africanism and rejection of French colonialism. In the last hours, China, the United States, France, and the Organization of African Unity recognized his victory.
Each voter was able to express himself through his vote. For this reason, we want to thank you for this work and this sense of personal sacrifice, which shows us that you are guaranteed sincere results and a sincere and transparent elections.
In this context, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of China congratulated Bassirou Diomaye Faye as stressed the willingness to deepen bilateral cooperation with the new government of Senegal.
We are pleased that Senegal's presidential election was held in a peaceful and orderly manner. We congratulate Bassirou Diomaye Faye on his victory. China and Senegal are good friends and brothers. China attaches great importance to the development of China-Senegal relations and is willing to work together with the new Senegalese government to deepen mutual political trust, expand practical cooperation, and promote the continued development of bilateral relations.
Chinese government authorities held a meeting with representatives of the United States business community. President Xi Jinping met with representatives of the business, strategic, and academic communities of the United States. In this regard, the Chinese president said that the success of China and the United States provides an opportunity for both parties to grow and improve their bilateral relationship. Xi Jinping also stated that his nation is planning to implement important measures for world-class business reform to provide a broad development space for international companies, including those from the United States. The commemoration of the Holy Week in the world gathers for several days millions of believers around the religious ceremonies in order to remember the passion and death of Jesus of Nazareth. In Venezuela, citizens tour the 7 main temples of several cities in demonstration of their devotion and to raise their prayers for the welfare of the country. In Spain, believers follow the itinerary of the Stations of the Penitence of Jesus, with hundreds of Nazarenes and brothers who accompanied the image of the streets. On the other hand, Pope Francis celebrates from the Basilica of St. Peter in Vatican City the Eucharistic Mass of Holy Thursday before hundreds of Christians who meet to exalt the family union as a contribution to the evolution of world cultures. In this context, Pope Francis urged his priests on Thursday to avoid clerical hypocrisy and thread their flags with mercy as he delivered a lengthy set of marching orders to Rome-based priests at the start of busy few days leading the Easter. Francis read aloud a lengthy homily instructing priests to be merciful and not judgmental after keeping his homily during Palm Sunday's Mass. Last weekend, in his homily, he urged priests to always show mercy to the faithful and not judge them, and weep instead for their own sins. The Mass was the first major papal liturgy in the St. Peter's since the great column canopy over the altar known as a baldacchino was covered in a scaffolding. In the framework of the Holy Week celebrations, Pope Francis, in his homily, he warned priests against sliding into clerical hypocrisy or pitching one thing to their blacks, but doing differently in their own spiritual life.
It means looking within and repenting of our ingratitude and inconstancy, and acknowledging with sorrow our duplicity, dishonesty, and hypocrisy. Clerical hypocrisy, dear brothers, that hypocrisy that we slide into often. Beware of clerical hypocrisy.
We entering now in sporting matters, and in particular referring to the Olympic Games of Paris 2024. On Thursday, the authorities of the International Olympic Committee announced that the Olympic flame will be near the Louvre Museum. In this way, the flame of the Paris Olympic Games will burn during the competition in the Garden of the Tuileries, a publicly accessible site located on the banks of the Seine between the Louvre Museum and the Place de la Concordia. The decision was taken after the organizers abandoned the idea of the Eiffel Tower. It should be noted that the relay of the flame that will be lit on April 16 in Olympia, Greece, will begin in Marseille on May 8th. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net, and join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I am Irma Scholten. Thank you for watching.